be sure if it's working fine. Yeah, so I'm at it. Let me make sure. As usual, guys, always showing Stream Beats some love. Stream Beats going to be our music for tonight. Otherwise, you guys get to listen to my very, very boring air conditioning background to my computer, my bougie ass computer. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday night. I just came from having dinner with a friend from work. It's always really fun to catching up with some peers, especially when you work remote. I work with some fantastic people, so whenever I get a chance to hang out with them, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, working from home is great, but man, it can get lonely sometimes. So I crave human interaction. Help me. All right, let me go ahead and bring this down. So tonight I'm going to be pretty much just going to be doing some cleanups. As you guys know, I'm finishing my comic book, The Hellion Rider. The Hellion Rider, I started it for the few you guys don't know. I started this back in 2009. I think it was 2000, it's actually 2009. And it was originally an inside joke between me and a good friend of mine. And sadly, he is long gone now. He died of stage 4 cancer a couple years ago. And I kept going. So this is going to be kind of like a memory of my friend project. It was originally an inside joke because the man was wild. He was a party animal. He was the sweetest man. He rode a motorcycle. He partied. You know, he worked too, of course. But, you know, he was wild. So he used to say, hey, man, you're like the Puerto Rican Ghost Rider. And then that's when I started writing the Hellion Rider. And that's how I became... It's supposed to be a one book thing, and then it went to 6. And the reason it took so long, guys, I believe it or not, it's up to book 4 is fully done. I had to go back and rewrite some of the dialogue because I'll be straight honest, I am a creator, but I'm not a good writer, and I'll say that to the day I die. Writing is never been my forte, but I can do some storytelling or enhance the storytelling that's been provided. Yeah, so pretty much I'm just going to be doing some cleaning. Book 1 to 4 is already done, including like cleanups, layout, colors, updated dialogue. I need to send it to my friend. He is a professional letterer, so I'm going to send that to him to do that. So now I'm on book 5. There's 5, 6, and 7. I added an extra book because it just felt like the story was a little rushed in the end of 6. I'm like, let's rewrite this, and I wrote an extra book. So let's go ahead and get started. So here is one of my pages. As you guys know, I always love to draw in analog. That's always been my thing. It's the first thing I'm going to do. And you guys probably seen me do this before. Image mode. And I'm going to change this to grayscale. And it's late at night, guys, so I apologize if I can't see very well. Okay. And then once I'm in grayscale, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my levels. Let me go. Sorry, I got like monitors everywhere. I got monitors for my monitors, yo. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play with these levels right here. And get a little bit of a cleaner line. So, as you guys know, I like to get as clean of a line as possible. There you go. And, you know, and it's funny, like when I'm drawing these, I don't see how jacked up some of these panels are until I get in here. And this is why I like drawing by hand because it's easier on my hands, unlike on my eyes. But then when I go right here into digital, I can go ahead and enhance it and change it, and it's a lot easier. Okay, so now that I have this, it looks pretty good. I don't want to lose a lot of this detail in the background. Now, normally the way that you do this is that you have a non-photo blue pencil, and then you draw, and then you do your actual mechanical pencil on top of it. Well, for me, that's like double drawing, so I just like to go with like a really nice, like solid. It's called indigo blue. It's just, I just like it. That's just the style. I just get more inspiration and motivated to draw that way. So I kind of give myself a little bit more work in the long run, but at least I can finish the project, you know? So now that that's done, I'm going to go to image mode, and I'm going to go back to RGB. So that way I got my channels. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go back to layers. Control-Shift-I to invert. My Spanglish. Control-Shift-N to create a new layer. I'm going to call this line art. Man, how do you say that? I got a master's degree and I can't spell for beans. Okay, let's go ahead and fill that out. Sweet. Okay, and then let's do that again. Control-Shift-N. I'm going to call this blue. And then I'm going to borrow my tones right here. And the reason why I do blue, and I explained this once in the past, is that back when I used to work at the studios, I will have sometimes like 16-hour shifts just staring at a monitor. So a trick that I taught myself is that, hey, one, have the lights on. I can't be in a room that's dark. It's just too strenuous in my eyes when I'm drawing. But the other thing is like having staring at a blue tone instead of staring at just the white. It just kind of feels better on my eyes, and I can work a lot longer. So I now have the line art. I have this. Now I'm going to go to a previous page that I already cleaned. And then one thing that I want to do, I already have a pre-made border. I'm going to borrow that layer, and I'm going to drop it there. And I'm going to create a group for this. I'm going to call this border. Okay, for right now I'm going to lock this up. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to adjust this layer here. And I'm just simply using my arrows. Sometimes I get to shift more left, sometimes shift right. You know, it just depends what I'm doing. Yes, I like this. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to go ahead and select that, lock it. And now I can go ahead and go into the line art itself, and I'm going to start cleaning this out. And for this, I'm going to collapse this. Okay. So first thing I'm going to be doing is, so this right here is like your guidelines when you are drawing on comic book paper. It has your action save, your print save, and then most of the stuff right here will get cut off. Oh, because I'm working digital, I just kind of ignore all that. I'm not gonna lie. But back in the day, most of your action would literally be drawn in there. But I said with digital, you can like modify your pages and your layout. So it just depends how much work you want to give yourself. And my favorite part about digital is like if you mess up, Control Z, baby, Control Z. You can't mess that up. I mean, you can, but you know, it's a lot easier to recover, especially since I still have the original line art at the bottom. And this is more of a patience game. Like I said, my objective is not to make these lines sterile. I like my line art, and I mentioned this before. I like something about seeing a hand-drawn look item that it just makes it human. Especially these days where we're like just oversaturated with all these like, you know, CGI and elements. I just like to see the little rough like extra lines and stuff. But sometimes it's good to clean. Like I still like to go clean. People don't need to see my rough sketches underneath. I try to keep those light, but you know, they still filter through. Man, this is dope. Yeah, Streambeats finally got their webpage back up. See, like this right here, a little too much. Alright, anybody dying? Let me check. Nobody dying. Okay, good. I mean, last week that was like that. Like I had a couple of people that died on me last week. That sucked. But that's fine though. It's part of life. I know, you know, not to sound nonchalant. It's not that I don't care about the person. As I mentioned before, I've been technically a foster parent, and I was a caregiver to both my parents. And I've lost a lot of friends to my entire life. So now it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, they die, and then, you know, it's weird. It's kind of you're like, okay, they die, okay, cool. Like I don't have any emotion towards it. It just is. Let me put this over here so you guys can hear. And let me move the mic a little closer too. You guys get to hear all my typing. Hopefully not all my spitting. Fuckdash. Let me make sure my Twitch is up and running. I know ain't nobody talking to me. Easy. Anybody talking to me? Nah, nobody talking to me. It's fine. I don't really care. I don't do this for fame. I just do this for fun and just to kind of make sure, you know, just chilling like a villain, just sketching. By the way, if you guys get a chance, please check out my friend. There's two friends that I would like to give a shout out. One of them is Gun Bunny. If you go to my page, you can see his link to his page. I think tonight he's doing like IT support. And then there's Tough Nerd Toys. And he's recently playing the Dead Space game. You'll see me in the chat once in a while. Most of the time I'm just one of those creepers in the background just watching him play. I just got other stuff going on and I just cannot engage at that moment. But he's pretty fun. He's pretty fun to watch play. And he's pretty down to earth dude, pretty cool. highly suggest check out his stuff. Yeah, so just showing love to my friends. Alright, let's see what I got going on here. This is the symbol. Like I said, tonight I'm only doing cleanups. I'm pretty much going to be cleaning out, excuse me, I'm going to be cleaning out most of my books the next couple weeks. I go through phases. I go through hand-drawn, cleanups and corrections, and then I go back through, and then I go ahead and I do my actual colors, and then figure it out where the dialogue it works. Sometimes I do the dialogue ahead of time, or sometimes I have to redraw a panel. It's not that often, but I had to reshift certain panels once in a while. Now, someone asked me once, it's like, Anna, your panel seems so empty. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I know I'm going to bounce to digital, so why am I going to work harder instead of smarter? Because once I'm in digital, I can generate, like, for example, here's the panel where she's flying through the sky. So this right here, most of this is going to be sky. I'm going to make that as like a little matte paint on Photoshop. So I don't need to repeat myself. I don't need to do that work twice. Okay, so that's why I'm just doing it that way. Now, right here, there's some foreshortening issues. I'm gonna tackle that as soon as I'm done cleaning out, and I'll go back over here. But for right now, we're just trying to make some of these lines a little cleaner. And it's all about baby steps, guys. One of the biggest roadblocks some of my friends encounter is that, you know, they're like, they get, first of all, drawing a project like this, and I worked on a couple of large projects in my lifetime. Obviously nothing like super crazy, but like things that take a long, super amount of time. Imagine spending 7 months of your time working in a 30-second commercial. You know, that's a lot of work. And then I have friends that work in years and stuff, and I've had a couple projects like that. But the big thing is, don't overthink it, especially if it's a personal project. Have fun with it. If you're getting burned out, just take a pause for a moment, because even I had to learn that lesson with this. I reached, like I said, I reached a point in my life where life was not being very kind to me. And I kept trying to force myself to draw this book, and I just either didn't have the energy, or I just wasn't mentally in it, and it reflected in my panels. It just made panels look terrible. So I'll end up doing double or triple the work. And at that point, you want to just kind of put it down, walk away, get some fresh ideas. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sometimes walking away will allow you to go back, take a look at something, and go, oh, I could have done this better here and there. The first book of Hellion Rider was released back in 2010. And again, after that, my life kind of took off in a really oddball direction, with me being a caregiver to my parents and a bunch of other things. But, you know, now that my life has come down quite a bit, and I'm able to live my life again without being a caregiver to dementia patients, I'm now able to pretty much live my life, play video games, meet people, you know, stuff that most of us do, you know, in our 20s, except that I'm in my 40s. Yeah, I tell folks I'm like a stunted 20-year-old sometimes. Not because I cannot do serious stuff, it's just that I like to have fun. I feel like I'm catching up for less time. That's why you see me like playing video games. I don't care if people look at me like I'm a weirdo. They're like, "Well, you're a 40-year-old woman, you're playing video games." Like, yeah, fuck yeah, I am. You know, it's like, what's wrong with that? It's 2023. If people can pretend to be a jet plane, I can pretend to be, you know, I can be a gamer. You know, leave me alone. So, and there's nothing wrong with to being whatever you want. You know, so unless you're not hurting anybody, I don't give a shit. And the gaming community is kind of neat. Now, there is two sides to the gaming community. Just like anything, there is, and that's almost anywhere. There is a toxic side. Usually it's in the minority, but I will have to tell you, I've had the blessings where I have found my kin. And even when I play games where I play with randos, most randos are really nice people, especially like later in the afternoon. You could tell they're folks at work, and when you tell them you're new to a game, they're a little bit more empathetic because, you know, they all had to start somewhere. And I think most people today are pretty chill. It wasn't like back like when it was in COVID or like before COVID. Like people would take these games like super seriously, and everybody just seems really, 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 really chill. Um, Me and my friend has been doing some Dark Tide game runs, and I already noticed it there that I play my we accidentally picked a level higher than we should have, and I'm currently right now like a level 12, and so I'm level like playing with like some level 30s. Oh, let me save. Let me go. Hellion Rider colors. Always save, kids. And I even apologized at the end. It's like, sorry for dying so much, and sorry for sucking. The guy's like, no man, it's cool, it's fun. And that's the other great part about the gaming community. Like that for that one asshole that you encounter, and trust me, as a female, I've encountered back in the past a lot of assholes. This is back in the day. That's why I wouldn't even tell folks that I was a woman or have like a guy's name, so they'll leave me the fuck alone. But I think now that gaming's more acceptable, you're starting to meet more cool people, more relaxed people, and it takes some time. It takes some time to find cool people. Actually, this needs to be moved because that makes no sense. Okay, so here is where I need to do repair number 1. So if I were to let me create a new layer. So this is what I'm looking at here, and since this is hard to do when you're on paper, because one, you try not to mess up your paper too much. Okay, so this is me looking at the masses. So this would be shoulder, and then right underneath that will be her stomach, and then her ass technically will be back here because you have the foreshortening going there. So you see how this is off? So technically I need to grab this and then shift it over to the left. So that's pretty much what I need to do. So I am going to, first of all, drop the opacity of this. Okay. And I'm going to temporarily lock that. Then I'm going to use the lasso tool. And I like to use the poly lasso tool. I believe it's always giving me much better control than any of the other lasso tools. And I'm simply just going to select this part right here. There, that to me makes a lot more sense. There we go. So we got the legs. There we go. And it's okay if there's some overlapping, I'll clean that out. But to me, that looks a lot better than what I had before, at least to me. And I might have to change this and fix this up a little bit. But for right now, I will go with this. So let me go ahead and clean this out. Right now, it just looks kind of wonky because I shipped this stuff over. Remember, always keep track of your masses and where they're located in relation to each other. And that's the cool part about digital. If you mess up, then just Control Z and then do it again. It's great. Oops. D. Alright, and I need to find an old... So, one of the things that, unfortunately, because there was a couple years in between that I needed to stop to work on this project and deal with life. I noticed that I kind of lost some consistencies, so I've been making sure now to go back through and make sure that my characters are consistent, which is the one advantage that I didn't publish anything else after my life took a dump. So it gives me a chance to go back and fix certain things and continuity issues. I can address them ahead of time. So she has like this little silverfish that is like a symbol from her family. I need to come up with a lore for that. At one point I had it. I have to go back through my notes. I can't think of what the lore is, but it's something with her dad. I know it's bad. I'm the creator and I can't even remember what the lore is. And it's fine. It's fine. This is fine. This is fine. God, I love this music. It's so poppy. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a jacket. Okay, let's do that. There's the pants. Okay. Okay, and it still looks a little odd, but you know what? It looks a lot better now than it did before to me. So that's the reference. So this looks like the legs are kind of like, it looks like the hip has been pushed down, which I don't like. So this to me looks a lot better than that. That to me looks a lot better. And again, I can still make corrections later on as I go through. Not a big deal. And like I said, most of what I'm doing tonight is cleanups. That is my main objective for the night. Do, do, do. And I'm probably what I'm going to start doing, especially as I'm going to be spending more time, excuse me, doing more digital or going back to painting. I need to pick up something in the background because my plan is I normally put like a TV show or something. If it's something that I've seen, it's not very hard because I've seen it like a bunch of times. But there's only so many times you can hear to the show over and over. So I was debating into probably getting into some audiobooks. I still need to finish the Mistborn series. I'm on the second set. And the problem that I've been having is that I get up at 4 every day. So I work out and then I work my 8 hour shift, reading reports and staring at a computer. And then the afternoon, my brain's turning into pudding, so I game, so I'm on the computer. And then by the time it's late at night and I'm ready to read, like my eyes are going no, and my brain's going no. So I'm like, whatevs. So I got stuck in like halfway through the first book in the second series. And I've been trying to read. I started reading the other night because I just couldn't sleep. Something that happens. I just have a hard time sleeping sometimes. And yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should just get this an audiobook and just listen to it while I'm sketching. Yeah, sketching something could be like driving. You can catch up on a lot of audio based stuff. And I listen to around 10 to 15 podcasts at least a week. I listen to Planet Money, Marketplace. I also listen to TED Talks. I love listening to The Indicator. Yeah, a lot of NPR stuff. What's the other thing? I love to listen to some of the crypto podcasts to find out how is it imploding this week. Then I like to listen to something a little bit more open and contemporary, or what we consider more progressive, which would be like Savage Lovecast. Is a sex columnist. He's got some pretty interesting stuff on his show. I also listening to real estate news to find out what's going on in the market. Not that I'm trying to become a real estate tycoon by any chance, by any means, but it's really interesting to find out what investors are doing and understanding why the market is doing things the way they are, and why does Ana listen to a lot of economic stuff? Well, let me tell you about Ana. Ana has a background in fine arts and then has an MBA in marketing. Anytime the economy takes a dump, guess who are the first two fields that get cut? Creatives or leisure, anything that is artsy fartsy, or anything involving marketing and advertising, which we're seeing right now. Advertisers are cutting down on their budgets, so they start laying off marketing teams. So technically, we are human parameters, English, for economic times. And I'm very fortunate that now I have I have a stable career now. But when I was a freelancer, man, and the 2008 hit, that was painful. That was painful. I saw my work get shipped overseas, and at the time, I was competing with things like Elance, and anything getting done online was like starting to pick up, and it was rough. And that's why I don't do this full time anymore. I love it. I have friends that are doing it full times. I show them a lot of love and support, but I don't have the energy to work 16-hour days anymore. I don't have it in me anymore. And the other thing is when you start doing this for like a living, like all the time, every day, you start getting burned out on it. And imagine working in a job that requires your creativity to be on all the time. And at least with the current type of work that I'm doing, it's still slightly creative. It's more like problem solving type of work. But it gives me a chance for me to replenish my batteries, and I can go ahead and then take that out whenever I get a chance. So this is like a really good indulgence for me, doing these little art projects, and it makes me appreciate my art more, enjoy it more. Yeah, so it's been great. By the way, I hope everybody's having a fantastic weekend. If you're in Texas, please be careful. Like I said, there's some crazy storms going on. It's been at least drizzling all day. I have been very surprised because I live not too far away from. So if you're in Texas, there's a main road called I-35. I-35 goes all the way from the west to. It just it crosses everything. It's like I-10. I-10 goes all the way across from California to like Florida. And then in Texas, you have 35 that goes from Mexico and it goes all the way up across. And when you live close to like an interstate like that, like in Orlando, will be I-4, and if you are on the East Coast, it's 95. There's always accidents anytime there's a storm, and I was very surprised that today there wasn't a lot of accidents. And because I live so close to it, I can hear the ambulance all day. It's crazy. So I think most folks, they are becoming very careful. They're not trying to get into fender benders or anything because life's getting more expensive. Let's be honest. So folks are trying not to ruin their lives. And trust me, I've had some friends go to some heinous car accidents, like life-changing level stuff. So I just tell people, slow the math down. Unless you are a doctor on the way to surgery, you really have no reason to be going 90 down the interstate, or you're trying to get your pregnant wife to the hospital who's having contractions. You have no reason why to go that fast and dangerous in the interstate. There's no reason for this. So slow down. Life is short and it can end in a blink of an eye. And unfortunately, again, just like my friend V, as I mentioned it, he got taken too soon. He was 42 when he died. And man, it killed me. It really killed me because, so V was a very happy guy. He was very sociable. And I remember, back when we used to work together, it's like, hey, I have a party this weekend with this friend and that friend and this friend. And then when he had cancer, he was, keep in mind, he was like 6'3", 6'4", and he weighed like about 100, and on healthy side 160, 180 pounds, which is pretty good. He was a really lean guy. And then when I saw him with the stage 4 cancer, it just kind of like overnight, he just dropped all this weight, and he just withered away to like a skeleton wearing just like sweatpants. He was exhausted. You could tell he had advanced cancer because like his skin was kind of green. And unfortunately, I've had several family members that died of cancer when I was younger, so I know that smell. It's this weird. There is this weird putrid smell. It just smells like putrid flesh. And I'm not saying anything negative about cancer patients. I'm not saying you stink. This is just something that I have experienced, and I saw this with my friend when he was dying. And it's hard to describe. It's one of those things that you have to smell it, to experience it, to know what I'm talking about. It's just really hard to describe smell, but you know it's cancer, and they're practically rotting alive. And he withered away. He had that smell on him. His skin was green. Like, it was horrible. For me, it was heart-wrenching because I went from seeing this happy-go-lucky guy to this walking skeleton. And what was really more fucked up, and I'm going to say fucked up, and I'm going to mean it, is that all those friends that he had, when he got sick, not a single one of those mofos came to visit him. Not a single one of them. Except for me. As soon as I found out, I drove down from North Carolina. I spent a week with him and his family. He had his little chameleons and stuff. So, we watched TV, we talked. I tried to cheer him up. And, that was unfortunately, I'm grateful that I did that. But that was unfortunately the last time I saw him alive. And a few months later, I was supposed to go back to Florida for a friend's wedding. And I told him, like, hey, I'm going to be back down. I would love to see you again. No response. I didn't know what was going on. And this is like, we were talking back and forth, and suddenly he, like, stopped. And that made me super nervous. And I let him know, it's like, hey, I haven't heard from you, but I'm still coming down. Let me know. So the whole time I'm down there, I'm going to my friend's wedding. I'm trying to make sure I'm staying nice and happy for my friend's wedding. But in the back of my mind, I was like, something's wrong, something's wrong. I cannot get a hold of my friend. And I never did. I never heard. The whole time I was in Florida, I could not get a hold of him or his family. Well, made it back to North Carolina, and it was probably like 2 or 3 days later. And I left a couple messages with his mom. And I finally heard from her, and she literally told me, it's like, Anna, I'm sorry to say that he passed away. The reason we wouldn't get back to you is because he was in hospice, and he didn't want people to remember him like that, which I understand. He didn't want people to see him that way. And she thanked me for being the only friend that came out to see him and saw him as a person. And that was it. He was gone. He was just gone. It went from his liver spread to his lungs, and then it reached the colon. And if you know anything about cancer, there's several spots where there's no cure. The colon, they can cut it off, but they can't cure it. And the same thing goes with like the brain cancer. They could try to remove the piece, but they can't. There's no cure for it. And he was just gone. Just one day, just gone, and there was nothing I could do about it. So except for remember him. And one thing that I always tell people, especially as I've gotten older, I'm 41 now. I met him back when I was like, Jesus, I was like 16, 17. We were kids. The first time we met, we were kids cleaning at SeaWorld. I used to be a janitor, so I used to work at he worked at Happy Harbor. Not Happy Harbor. He worked at the Dolphin Encounter, and I worked at the Penguin Encounter area. And so it was pretty cool. And the Sea Line. It was Penguin Encounter and Sea Line. That's what it was. And it's still there to today, by the way. And it's that when I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know what it is, but not. It's that when people have to realize, when people are faced with the concept of their mortality, they don't know how to react to it. And this is something that I've seen with even a couple other friends that I've seen passed away, where they have older friends and then suddenly they get really sick and they're terminal, and none of their friends want to talk to them, or they don't want to reach out, and they're not being mean, they just don't know how to process it, and it starts reminding them about their own mortality, and it freaks people out. And then since you're sick, people are like, oh, what if I get it or something like that. And it sounds kind of cruel, but I've seen that so many times. It's just folks don't know how to react to watching their friend die. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And for me, I could have been an asshole, and I could have just walked away and said, no, I'm not going to be there. I don't want to see this. Like the same assholes who take a dog to be taken down to sleep, and then they walk from the room when the dog is dying looking for them. But anyway, I'm not one of those people. I think those people are assholes, and there's a special place for help for them. But anyway, my opinion, sticking to it, I have no apologies. But for most part, I stuck around. I made him happy until he left us as best as I could, and I have absolutely no regrets that I spent that precious little time with him before he left us. So again, one of the main reasons why I'm finishing this book, and that was the other reason why it took me so long to finish, because I started picking this book back up. At the time I was on book 4, and I had to stop. I had to stop because I was drawing the face of a friend that just recently passed away, and I had to walk away from the project for a little bit. So, and I was also taking care of my parents who were sick, like very sick mentally. So it was a lot. I took a pause. I still kept drawing and fleshing out the story, but like I said, sometimes it's good to take a break, especially something like this where it was a personal project. So by the way, so here's some of the original. So I still have my original Bible. So this is like what Lou used to look like when I was drawing up the concept. So there is the little silver dollar thing. Some of the old sketches. That is Damon. And that's some of the weapons. And then that's the sketch for V right there. This is me coming up with concepts and stuff like that. So this is like really crude. This is like on some sheet of paper that I grabbed at some point. It's good to have the story Bible so you can go back and refer to those. There was a few more characters in there, but I think after a while I just kind of went straight through, and I didn't really like. I, I didn't stick to the sheet the way I should have. But again, there was a couple gaps in between because life happens. Okay, so the other thing that I want to do here, so this right here, there's a lot of dead space. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna Control X. Control Shift V to paste in place. Control T to increase the size. So I'm going to fill out this panel a little bit more. And again, it's not this is just me changing my mind. Like there's times that I originally drew it and I thought it looked good, and then after I drew it, I'm like, it looks terrible. And again, there's some dialogue going on here, so I have to leave some space for the dialogue. So I'm going to leave that right there. That's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a mask around this area. So this way I'm not working as destructive. There we go. So that's where my new panel is. And it's okay if your stuff doesn't look perfect, guys. I cannot tell you, a lot of people, they get so hung up in the minor details that they say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, because they're getting hung up on that. They never get far because they're just trying to be perfect. It's like, stop trying to be perfect. Just make stuff. That's all you need to do. Don't stress about the other stuff. Just make stuff. I'm going to save this. All right, real quick, let me okay, come on, baby, we could do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some of these borders. Now, what I like to do right here is, so sometimes I like to kind of try to break the frame a little bit, like the characters stick out a little bit. So what I like to do with the borders, I like to put them all under a folder, and if I need to apply a mask, I apply it to the folder, not to the individual layers. Again, personal preferences. The cool part is about Photoshop is that there is more, or any of these digital packages, there's more than one way to do the same thing. I know Game Studio has a lot of like comic book capability. I need to sit down and really look through it. I just got so many things that I need to do. But right now I'm just trying to get to one project at a time. And eventually I'll get there. I need to get into Blender. And I need to get into the Clip Studio Pro stuff. Okay, so I create a new layer. I'm going to create a marquee. And I could also use the shape tool if I wanted to. I'm going to fill this up. Okay. And I'm going to go to the border. 30%, and this allows me to quickly see what I'm doing and minimize accordingly. There we go. Sweet. And then I could go ahead and either redraw it or duplicate it. Control J allows me to duplicate it. Okay, duplicate it one more time. There we go. Cool. Looks nice. Let's save. And then go ahead and go to 100% opacity. There we go. And now I have my panels ready to go. I mean, this is a pretty big difference from when I started. Especially that top panel. That's what I started with. She looks so derpy. And I'm going to say, some days I ain't going to be 100%. Okay? So, it happens to all of us. This is why I like to go from analog to, like, digital. The reason why... So, one of my friends back in the day, I asked him, so he's a classical artist. And he used to draw for DC and Marvel. He was one of my mentors. And I noticed that he would still draw on regular analog, like paper and pencil. And then what he did is he'll grab tracing paper and put it on top of it. And then he went ahead and then, eventually passed it to digital. And I asked him, it's like, hey, why do you do that? And, you have digital tools. Like, well, what he taught me is that, especially now that digital is becoming so predominant, is that each part of that process, he could go ahead and sell it because people want things that are handmade. That's why Etsy is so popular. So he will have the rough sketch. Someone go, I really want to buy that because the guy's really well known, so he will make revenue off from that. And then someone see the inks, it's like, I want to buy that. I want an original. So out of one page, it's freaking genius. So he made profit on the original drawing, on the tracing, and then he passed it digital, so at the end he made also profit on the book. And I was like, I ain't even mad. I ain't even mad. But again, he's been doing this since like the golden age of comics. He was one of my mentors, and I treasure him. I need to go back to conventions in Florida, see him. He's still over there. And so I feel very blessed that, even though I've had a little bit of a jacked up life here and there, it has made me the person that I am today. I'm very resilient for that matter. And I've had some wonderful mentors my entire career, and I do not take it for granted. I think the only other thing that I want to do here, I want to enhance. I like to kind of bold out my characters. First of all, I'm going to merge these two. Control E to merge both of those. And I want them to stick out a little bit. So this right here is not too bad. She said she's the only thing on there. Oops. Draw, Anna, draw. For the love of Pete. Boop, 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 boop. And this just makes him stand out. Again, this is just a personal preference. It's something that nobody has to do. Like I said, I used to work in animation, so working with clean lines is something that I just got used to. And especially if you want that thing to be the point of focus, because the line is a little bit heavier, it tells your audience that they're in the foreground, they're the focus, and yeah, it's just easy, an easy storytelling tool for my style. I'm not saying it's the right style, I'm just saying for my style, for what I like to do, it's something that I like to do. Okay, there's no right or wrong. It's just trial and error and see what sticks. So this lady, here's my point of focus. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Okay, and there's clearly some cleanups I need to do in his face right here. Okay, this dude right here, he's actually not too bad. Just a little bit of scruff here I gotta clean out. Oops. Let's just clean up some of these little sparklies. Sparklies. Right, there we go. So pretty good. Lens looks pretty good. Shirt looks pretty good. Okay, let's go over to oh my god, his face is jacked. Let's clean him out a little bit, shall we? And I'll probably do a few more pages. I don't want to do a bunch of pages in a row because I don't want to give the story. Yesterday I did about five. This is, yeah, 6 of these. There's a few details I gotta fix on those. I misunderstood one of my sheets. Oh, that's right. He does have a scar on his face. Yeah, so eyes get a little difficult sometimes. Especially with someone with a darker eye color. You just gotta make sure they don't look like they have the full blackout contact, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And then you have to make sure it looks like they're looking at the person that they are talking. So right now you saw one a little too far, and it looked like he was like veering towards the right when he is talking to a dude clearly to his left. So the design for this dude, believe it or not, is inspired by, do you remember, what was it, Atlantis? There was a doctor there. He was the African-American doctor. I always loved his character. I thought he was so well designed. And he was kind of my inspiration for this dude. And so especially what's really fun about this is that this story takes place in, of course, it's a post-apocalyptic future where everything imploded. And this takes place in what's left of Florida. So anything south of like I-4 sank down. It's just a giant beach. So goodbye, I-4 South. And so it takes place like in Tavares and Orlando and Ponciana and all those little places in Orlando. Because I lived in Florida for like 20 years, man. So even though I have a love-hate relationship with Florida, and we do have a hell of a lot of crazy Florida man stories, still my hometown, technically. I grew up in Puerto Rico as a kid, then lived in Orlando. I lived in Puerto Rico like 10 years, and I lived in Orlando, actually Orlando 10 years, Tampa 10 years, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was there for almost another 10 years, and I'm in San Antonio, where I've been here for a year, and I'm not a fan. Mainly because I got used to the really quiet environment in Texas right now. It's a madhouse. Everybody and their mothers here. And it just reminds me of Orlando and Raleigh. And it's just people everywhere. Holy shit. Just people everywhere. And everything's a hassle because there's so many people moving in here. Anything you need to get done other than the basics, like setting up a doctor, getting your license plate done. It is like months wait sometimes, like months for an appointment. Except it goes for doctors, and it's like, oh my god, this is insane. Yep. So it looks, and by the way, Texas looks cheap on paper. It's not cheap. They'll nickel and dime it out of you just like Florida. That's why I keep saying that Texas is Florida's cousin. It'd be like Texas has some pretty high property taxes because that's how they pay for their police, school systems. Pretty much a lot of the public stuff is pretty much paid through housing taxes. So my taxes here for my Texas house is outrageous. Oh, by the way, in Texas, love to build on county lines, so I have to pay 2 taxes. Fucking bullshit, but whatever. But my house is nice. I mean, it's nice enough that I sit in it all day. So, no complaints. As I told my friends, like, Anna, you need to get out more. It's like, dude, if I'm paying mortgage, I'm going to enjoy my mortgage. I mean, true story, right? Yeah, God, living is just expensive, period. Oh my God. They're like, why are people having children? I was like, because people are expensive. I mean, we can't even buy eggs now, for fluff's sake. Fluffy's sake. Okay, so this looks a lot better. And like I said, the objective is not to over clean everything out. There we go. Looks a lot better to me. Oh. I said I normally do this while like watching anime on the background. And gosh, I need to start my Crunchyroll account. I canceled Hulu. They started getting dumb with their subscription, where like it was almost like $18 for Hulu without ads, which is like holy crap. And then I was watching several anime series. Like I was watching One Piece. One Piece is huge, and like I'm in the episodes 400s, and they go, this expires in 10 days, and I was like, even if I stayed up 24 hours a day, there's no way I'm going to be able to watch all of that One Piece in like 8 days. So I said, screw it. So I cancel them, and I'm probably going to start my Crunchyroll account tonight, and then just do some Crunchyroll stuff there. And just watch more anime. So most of the longer term series that I'm watching right now is One Piece. I am determined. Apparently I heard there are 1,200 episodes. So going to Crunchyroll will be my best bet. I need to watch My Hero Academia Season 6. I finished watching Hunter x Hunter as far as they made it, where he finally meets his dad at the end at the top of the tree. As far as I know, that's the last of the episodes. And yes, I did not watch it. I watched it all subtitle because after a point they stopped translating. It's kind of like One Piece. It's kind of like Naruto, Boruto. A lot of those, they are not all translated. And it's long. Okay. Cool. So this looks cool to me. Cool. And alright, cool. Some of the no, that's the design of the truck. What am I doing? And this is just like stuff in the background. I'm not that worried about it. Okay. So with that, I am done. So you guys have seen me go from the original page. This is the original pencil line. So actually, let me go to history. So this is what originally got started. These are my original raw scans at 300 DPI. And then from there, I went ahead and let me go down here because I don't want to lose all that work. Wait. What happened? Oh. Woo, I almost gave myself a heart attack. Okay, so from there, I went ahead and I pulled out the line art using my channels. And then I went through and I cleaned out and even modified this panel right here. So that way this makes a little more sense and added some minor details to it. And then I went ahead and also added some borders to this. So let me control save, tab, 0, control 0. And that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm pretty much going to be doing this on and off for probably the next month. So I'm going to try to go to 5, 6, and 7, just doing cleanups and making sure that the character, the continuity under the sign stays constant. Again, this is a big project. It's 7 books, 22 pages a pop. I wrote it, I designed it, I drew it. It's a big project. And yes, I'm a little slow, but you know what? I got other stuff to do, folks. That's all. Plus, I work in Astro Cats too. What do y'all want from me? So I took a small pause. So I did a lot for Astro Cats. Got the webpage up and running. That should be going up here on the social media here. But this month I made it clear to my team we're sorting a couple things out. So while they sort that out, I was gonna make sure that I finished drawing all 7 books, which I did. I just did this week. And then now I'm going through and I am just now doing cleanups while I'm on standby. So all in all, 2023, pretty chill. Let's see what happens this year. I'm not gonna lie to you, most people are just tired this year. It's already 2023 and most of us have 0 fluffs to give already. But you know, I look forward to see what happens. And right now my main goal is getting Astro Cats and getting this going, and hopefully I can meet up with my old crew. I used to be part of Razor Blade Apple Studios, which is now called Panico Prints. They're based on Puerto Rico. My old crew's there. A couple of the guys I used to draw with back in the day, some of them are now working for Sony Animation Studios. So always go back to your roots and show love to your people that gave you your first chances. So I'm going to see if I can go back to them and get this published out once it's done. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. Like I said, it's just me chilling. I said, normally nobody watches. So for the 2 other cats that are watching, thank you. Ha! Anyway, you guys have a good night. Stay safe. And again, if you are in the South like I am in Texas, there's a storm coming. Something's coming. I know it's going to be raining for a few days. Just please be careful and take care of yourself. Have a good night. Night.